An ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. For our ecosystem, we chose the Black Forest, which is a great forested mountain range in southwestern Germany. We chose this ecosystem because historically the ecosystem was only filled with pine trees that created a dark scenery of trees along with the mountains that cast shadows throughout the forest. In addition, we briefly learned about it in German class, which motivated us to further learn about the ecosystem.
The Black Forest is an important ecosystem because the Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte, or Black Forest cake, and the Black Forest ham originated there. The Black Forest forms a rectangle between Karlsruhe, Stuttgart, Basel, and Lake Constance. The forest borders on France in the west and Switzerland in the south.
A food web shows the complex interactions between feeding relationships. For our ecosystem, we have 4 trophic levels in our food web, which include the producers, also known as autotrophs, which capture energy from the sunlight, and the primary, secondary, and tertiary consumers. The most known producers are the ones that harness energy through photosynthesis, which in the Black Forest's case are the plants and the trees. For primary consumers in the Black Forest, also known as heterotrophs, there are the western capercaillie, which are rare birds that have been fighting extinction for years. There are also many small mammals and rodents such as mice and hedgehogs that roam around the forest floors eating leaves and fruits, as well as the numerous birds that live in and around the forests such as rails, crakes, and coots, as well as the endless amount of giant earthworms that are only found in the Black Forest. There are also a large amount of red-tailed deer that primarily roam and graze the open land in the lowlands. For the secondary consumers, there are the Sperling Scouse owl, which eats all types of small ground animals such as mice, hedgehogs, and rabbits. They will also eat other birds too. There are a number of predator birds that live in the Black Forest, such as the kohlrabe raven and falcons. In addition, there are wild boars such as Russian boar roam the forest feeding off plants, fruits, small animals, and birds. Finally, for tertiary consumers, there are the Eurasia wolf, which are small in population but do roam the forest. This is our energy pyramid, starting out with producers consisting of plants and trees and making its way up to the tertiary consumers consisting of the Eurasia wolf.
The carbon cycle is an important sequence of matter in the Black Forest. All living things are made of carbon. In the atmosphere, carbon is attached to some oxygen in the gas called carbon dioxide. Plants use the carbon dioxide in sunlight and photosynthesis to make their own food and grow. Carbon dioxide is given off by both plants and animals during respiration. Photosynthesis, respiration, and decomposition take up and release carbon. Through the processes of an organism's death, their burial and decomposition, as well as their transformation into fossil fuels, carbon is stored underground. Human activities such as mining and burning fossil fuels affect the carbon cycle by releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The cycle is then repeated. Limiting factors cause population growth to decrease in an ecosystem. Density-independent factors affect populations no matter their size in a like manner. One density-independent factor in the Black Forest is unusual weather. This ecosystem has been greatly impacted by acid rain since the 1960s. Acid rain has destroyed nearly 50% of the forest and caused the majority of the woodland to be pine trees. Due to the acid rain, trees are overall smaller and weaker, and therefore more susceptible to disease. Density-dependent factors are limited only when the population density is at a certain level. One density-dependent factor in the Black Forest is predation. An example of this is the predator-prey relationship between the Sperling cows or owl and mice. As the owls prey on the mice population decreases. However, later on there is a decline in the owl population due to the limited amount of mice to consume.
In addition, there is also a prehistorical connection between ancient times and the ecosystem. The appeal of the forest in ancient times was how easily it was to defend. It was impenetrable to invaders. It was depressing and scary, which warded out potential threats. In addition, the forest provided an unlimited amount of trees for building shelters and buildings, as well as an abundant amount of fuel for warmth during the harsh winters. The forest has the largest concentration of thermal mineral springs anywhere in the world. The Romans used these springs for cleansing and relaxation, especially in the winter months. Over the years, a tremendous amount of logging and deforestation was conducted throughout the Black Forest between the late 1800s and the mid 1900s, without any reforestation for building materials and fuel. The appeal for Black Forest trees was due to how straight and tall the trees grew with little to no branches due to the density of the forest. For many years, the forest was also mined for silver, iron, copper, and lead ore. At one time, there were 10 working mines throughout the forest. In addition, the main industry revolves around tourism due to the main historical towns and villages. There are more than 23,000 kilometers, or 14,000 miles, of trails that crisscross back and forth throughout the forest. These trails, due to the beautiful scenery, attracted hikers, daywalkers, and mountain bikers. The Black Forest is birthplace of skiing in Central Europe. There are many ski resorts scattered throughout the forest region that attract both downhill and cross-country skiers. As a way of protection and a recommendation, the German parliament needs to tighten up their laws that regulate the amount of carbon dioxide emission output across the country. They have the research and statistics that clearly reflect the damage that the pollution is causing to not only the Black Forest, but to all forests throughout Germany and Europe. The forest managers need to expand the forest. It used to be nearly 10 times the size it is now, and they need to nearly double it by planting new strands of trees to the north and east of its current forest. The foresters need to start putting more money and effort into treating the high, barren grounds of the forest that have sustained the most acid damage. By expanding the forest, it will help facilitate the natural increase to the native wildlife currently in the forest. It will also allow the foresters and Germans to reintroduce many of the trees, vegetation, and wildlife that has been existent in the area.